start whenever you guys are ready.
Okay, we'll get my cameraman,
Hi,
I
Linda
introduced you to
Courtney.
Linda Courtney. And this is Jimmy Potts, who's editor here at Cameron Newspapers. And he had this concept, it worked beautifully last time we did an interview with a young lady, and it got a lot of hits on the internet, and I like the concept, he likes the concept. Thought it'd be a great idea to put this on, to do your story this way. So you have been selected for as one of the top 10 shops for quilting by Quilting Sampler Magazine.
Yes.
Okay, and that's for the year 2020.
2021.
2021, yes. Year behind.
For the spring issue.
What does that mean to you as a business? Is it?
Well, it's a great honor. The magazine has done this for lots of years, and they do it twice a year. They publish and feature 10 shops each time. So it's a great honor for us to be selected.
Right.
Yeah, so
Well,
we're excited.
Yeah, I think she should be. Yeah, it's nice for Cameron to get that publicity.
Right.
So give you a little publicity for your shop as well.
Right.
So it's gonna be, when is that spring issue coming out?
It's supposed to be out May 14th or 15th.
Okay.
And at the shop will be, our quilt that's featured in the magazine will be hung in the shop. We had to design a quilt and make that and submit that. And so the pattern for that is in the magazine, and we'll be featuring kits at the shop for those quilts.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to get into a little bit about the shop in just a second. We'll go along.
Okay.
When did you find out about this? When did you notify?
It was, I think, like last September they told us, and then after that, then they came and did a photo shoot at the shop.
Oh.
And then we submitted our quilt, and they published the pictures, and
Fantastic.
yeah.
So, now, did they visit the shop prior?
They did.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess they'd almost have to be able to get some sense of making the awards.
Right. Yeah, it was, I think, quite difficult, probably this year more so because of COVID. So,
Right.
trying to, feature shops.
Well, everything's been affected.
Yeah, right.
Have you guys received other awards prior to this in particular?
No, not really.
Okay.
No.
That's fine, not a problem. It's, I've never received any, period. So. Okay. I was thinking about this, how interconnected is the quilting community? I mean, do you guys all sort of know one another or acquainted with one another to some extent?
To some extent, they used to, prior to COVID, have quilt markets where the shops would go to markets in different locations. Houston market is always in the fall, and then different locations, East Coast, West Coast, Minneapolis, would be the spring markets where all the fabric vendors, pattern vendors, quilt machines would all set up booths and information, so the shop owners would go and select
Just over to the shop
materials.
owners,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
select materials, to feature in their shops. So
Fantastic.
yeah, you'd have a wide variety, to pick from, and so that in that way, we met a lot of different shop owners, and when customers go to quilt shops, they want to go to all the quilt shops in the area. So, so in that way, we are connected.
Well, I've noticed in some of the comments online I saw that said that they stopped by here, say, been in Hamilton, and they were going here. And a couple of them mentioned, well, we always make sure we visit the one in Cameron. And I think
That's nice.
So, But I can see why they go everywhere.
Yes.
It's an interesting business. How many quilters do you estimate there are in the United States or in this area?
Gosh, I couldn't even guess.
Tens of thousands, I'm sure.
You're right, yeah, it's a huge industry, it really is.
Do you know a dollar figure on the industry? I can probably look that up.
I don't know.
But I imagine it's huge.
It is, because there's so much involved with it. Not only just fabric, but sewing machines, quilting machines, thread, notions, every gadget that you might need. It's a huge industry.
And you stock everything that's related to the...
We try to. I mean, you can't stock it all.
You can't try it all. But
And that's why people go to all the different quilt shops, because everyone features something
you
a
have
little
something
different.
somebody else wouldn't
Right,
have. Right.
yeah.
Okay, well that makes sense. Does your shop have a specialty?
We probably feature more Civil War type fabrics and wool. We have a lot of wool for wool applique projects. So that I would say
So
is
is
probably
wool
our
popular
specialty.
and
It is.
Is it really?
Yeah, wool applique. It's a nice tactile something to do. So it's a very popular.
where do you think most of your customers come from?
Well, actually, I think because of our location on Highway 35 and 36, that we get lots and lots of travelers going back and forth from Minnesota to Texas, and then vice versa, from Texas, Oklahoma, back north again. But, you know, we just get them from all over. And I think it's probably because our location is so easy to
Right,
access.
it's easy to get to, yeah, that's nice. Cameron is well situated.
Right, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. What's the furthest away you've had a customer from? Do you remember offhand?
Australia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In person?
Yeah, we've had buses of Australia, people that fly into, I think this particular bus I'm thinking of flew into Texas and then did tours of different quilt shops, but they came to our shop, so.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's just very interesting. It blows me away. I didn't realize how huge that is.
Yeah, those markets that I mentioned before are international markets.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So obviously you got people from Australia, but people in other countries as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How much of your business is in person versus phone or internet?
For us, we're just a little bit older beyond the computer comfort age.
Right.
So Marie and I do most in-person business. We do have a Facebook page and we do some online business, but most of ours is face-to-face. We're just not computer
I'm in that age bracket, I guess too. And it's like anything I want to buy, I like to hold it. I don't know why, but it's
right. And fabric is so much different, you know.
You want that tactile.
You want to touch it,
Yeah. And the colors. Now, in your shop, can they experiment with different things? Or
Oh, sure, yeah. A lot of customers will bring in a pattern that they're interested in making, and we have counters, and we've actually got a twin bed in one of the rooms, and we just pull out bolt after bolt after bolt, and until they pick and choose what's going to work for their quilt. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That has to be good for them, they get the hands-on thing, they can see,
Right.
they can say, this looks better than this, sort of thing.
And it's fun for us, we like to do that too.
Yeah, well, in fact, Martha Giffens, does she work?
She does, yeah.
I went to school with her,
Oh,
so,
okay.
I called out one day, she answered the
Oh,
phone.
yeah.
I told her, I didn't recognize her voice, and she says, Mike, this is Martha.
Oh.
Oh, okay. She loved it out there, she
Yeah.
said she loves the
Yeah.
store, and she finds it very interesting.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, she's a huge help and a wonderful quilter.
Is she, yeah,
She
yeah.
is, yeah.
I didn't know that about her.
Uh-huh.
But, boy, it's not something you, I guess, you just necessarily advertise, but you, among the public, but, non-quilters, I guess,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we try to draw in, non-quilters as well to get them interested, because there's something for everybody. There's handwork or machine piecing or wool applique or, there's something for everybody in the quilting industry.
Okay. How long have you been in Cameron, the business shop been open in Cameron?
10.5 years.
I mean, I've seen it out there, but it's, you lose track of time, how long, it's 10.5 years, great. Obviously, it's been successful. So.
Right. Of course, we've had our ups and downs, and COVID was really hard.
Oh, yeah, I imagine,
Yeah.
people just weren't out and about, so.
But, we found that quilters stayed home and quilted, and
That's true too, I mean.
we've seen lots of projects, I finished this during COVID, and so.
Well, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So now they need more fabric, so.
Oh,
Come
yeah,
and see
well,
us.
that's just how we get the fabric, right. Do you ever have any expansion plans, or do you just think you'll stay at the shop size you are?
Well, actually, when we first started, we rented one unit. We're in a strip mall, and we
Right.
rented one unit. Well, we quickly outgrew that, and our landlord was kind enough. Right next door to us was another business, and they left. So the landlord was kind enough to let us cut a hole in the wall. And so we expanded into the second unit there, and then the third unit down from us became available, so we rent it as our classroom.
Oh,
So we have
that was something I wanted to talk to you about, was, you do offer classes.
We do. We have a classroom there, and we also use it as a small retreat area where we have weekend retreats where the quilters bring in their sewing machines and their projects and spend the
That
weekend
can
with
work
us.
privately, sort of.
Right,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay, that's a good idea.
So they have a good time. It's always fun to sew with a group and
Sure.
share what you're doing.
Just talk a little bit.
Right.
They used to have, sewing bees, and they had
Yeah,
quilting bees.
yeah, it's
too.
kind of like that.
I
Yeah.
think my grandmother used to go to
Right.
quilting bees.
Yeah,
and
yeah, I'd say
I
this
don't know
was
if they
kind of
worked
on
or
a,
talked the most, but they
yeah,
they had fun.
right, on a modern level, yeah.
Right. What sort of classes do you offer?
Oh, gosh, well, we try to have beginning quilt classes.
Right.
We are a certified shop for, it's a company called Quiltworks, which is very intricate paper piecing. So we offer retreats and classes for this paper piecing techniques.
Okay.
Oh gosh, we've done.
And paper, what paper?
It's paper piecing, where
Piecing,
you're
okay, gotcha.
right. You're sewing on a paper foundation.
Right, I've seen that.
Yeah. So
So
just
that would be more difficult to me, I think, than doing the fabric.
Well, it's a totally different technique.
Is
It's pretty specialized, but the quilts that you can make are very intricate. So, and it's really not as hard as it looks. And it's pretty addictive, actually. Once you do one, you want to do another one.
Right. Well, I know that they sell for great prices, I've heard.
Yeah, we really don't sell quilts per se, unless there are retired samples where we're out of the patterns, we're out of the fabrics, and we can't duplicate it anymore. So then the quilts that we have, we sell some, or we use them as, like if somebody has a fire, or, you know, a donation
Well, that's
for
nice.
different,
Right.
projects, so.
Well, there's the Methodist Church, which they've expanded now, but to other churches, but they have a thing where you, I'm trying to think what they call it, it's a program anyway. But every year, they have a huge quilt sale, which is extremely popular. It's their biggest money maker. People donate quilts to that, and they do it online, so you are in person or online. So you just come in and people bid on them, and this is their biggest fundraiser of the fall, so the quilt sale. So, and I know there are people in this area that make quilts and will donate them to various organizations.
Right. Yeah, one of them is Quilts of Valor.
Which what now?
Quilts of Valor. So like for the veterans.
Oh, okay.
Some of the guilds have made lots and lots of quilts for the veterans home out here.
Okay.
Or they, we had, one year we made a lot of quilts. One of our customers' daughter was deployed, and so we made a lot of quilts and sent them to her.
Oh.
And she worked in a hospital unit.
Oh, fantastic. She
passed
had a
them
use
out.
for them.
Right.
That's great. Now I notice everybody talks online about your customer service, and that seems to be that they're very pleased with that.
Oh,
They
that's
find you
nice.
very interesting, and is that something you specifically aim to do? Is
We,
great.
we try to, right, you know, people are coming in needing help, and that's what we're there for, so we try.
Yeah, that's all we can do. It sounds like it's working. Well, you both quilt?
We do.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
When do you find time?
Well, we sew a lot.
Okay.
Kind of, you know, sometimes between customers, we have a project going. Well,
Oh.
we always have more than one project going, and then we both sew at home as well.
And at home.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, so you're in a business you love.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very important, being able to do something you enjoy.
Yeah. I retired from a business,
Mm-hmm.
and then now we're playing. So it's fun.
Yeah, so that makes sense. As a retired person myself, it's nice to say it's just a free time to, although I don't have as much free time as I thought I was going to have. I operate Mike's free taxi service, you know, but
Yeah.
more than anything. How long have you and Marie been quilting? Both of you started in childhood, or?
Yes, we kind of had similar stories. We both were in 4-H when we were kids,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where we learned to sew. Mostly, started out with clothes.
Right.
I didn't start quilting until, maybe 20 years ago, something like that. But
So you've learned it pretty quick. So.
yeah, because I had sewn clothes, you know, for my kids, and so.
Right.
But then it kind of evolved. After I had graduated from college, I was a late bloomer, but after I graduated from college, it was either, okay, I'm either going to take a quilt class or I'm going to take a painting class. Well, the first one that I saw available was quilting,
Right.
so that
You
began
liked
the
it?
story.
There you go. From then on, it's history.
It's probably a good thing because I can't paint.
Oh, that's kind of, it's interesting that 4-H is, because, you know, of course, I went to attended 4-H as a kid, and you learn a lot of practical skills.
Yeah.
And I go back to that little girl I was telling you about. She's 8th grade, but she was really involved in this quilting, and she would give me weekly updates. And she was so excited, and I was excited, and so when she finished it, I asked her to bring it to class so she could show everybody,
Right.
you know, and
Yeah.
she was very proud of it.
Yes.
You know. So you get, I think, as a quilter, you get that sense of satisfaction of accomplishment.
Oh, right,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because you put a lot of effort into, you know, effort and love into what it is that you're making. So, and we're real excited that 4-H is still featuring that in this area, featuring quilting. So we have a lot of the 4-Hers come in and get their first projects and pick out their fabric, and so that's fun to help them.
Oh, I would imagine the young lady, I probably got watched her stuff from her house. She never mentioned that, but she had a very pretty quilt. I know that Grandma's house always had quilts,
Right.
and she would donate quilts to our house, and we always had lots of quilts. I always enjoyed the quilts. I mean, as a guy, I mean, I didn't know anything about them except I liked them.
Yeah.
And I loved the patterns even as a kid. That was just unique to me. And the colors, I mean, how you would, some of them would be just a hodgepodge of colors, and others would have more of a theme to them, I guess you could call it. Yeah, pattern, yeah. I think it's a lot of fun. Well, what would you want? What do you envision in the future for both the quilting industry and yourself?
Well, to continue promoting quilting, especially to younger, kind of bringing them aboard, making sure that they understand it's not just a grandma thing.
Right.
But I think the industry continues to grow. There's more and more new designers out there. There's more and more pretty fabric that's better quality. So I don't think it's gonna end anytime soon, for sure.
Right. Well, if it's that big an industry, I mean, obviously people are going to be involved in it.
Right.
It's a source of income, and I can imagine. Excuse me, I had sinus problems over the weekend, and they're not solved yet. But I had a thought of you. Yeah, this young lady, as an 8th grader, she was just fully into quilting, and I thought that was great because of her age. She was the only girl in the class that talked about quilting. But some of the other girls, when she brought the finished product to class, that's when the other girls started looking at it and holding it, looking at it. And I have no idea if any of them ever decided to follow up, but they at least got to see the finished product.
Right, and it's like, well, if you can do it, maybe I can too.
Yeah, I would hope so. Right. What is your greatest satisfaction from your work?
Probably seeing a customer start a quilt and then finishing it and are really happy and excited with it. I think that's, from start to finish, and then they're delighted with the finished product.
Oh, there's always such satisfaction in accomplishing anything. Right? So that's wonderful. As a kid, I worked in the hay fields, and it was just, to me, an accomplishment to see all this hay in the morning and have it gone at night. And I helped do that, and it's a real satisfaction. And I think that's what, but you get to use your creative talents.
Right.
Yeah. I don't want to take too much of your time, but it's one time I used to work trade shows, and there was one in Joplin, and a blizzard hit, and nobody came. But we were all there, the vendors were all there, and they had hired, one vendor had hired a lady, the artist, to teach painting. Well, she was going to do classes for the visitors, but since there were no visitors, she did them for us.
Did you get to paint?
I did, and I followed her instructions exactly. It turned out great, and I bought some things and tried to do it at home, and it didn't look the same. That's my venture into creative art. Well, congratulations on the award, and that is a nation. I mean, anybody in quilting gets that catalog, right?
Or can, yes.
Or they
Yeah,
can.
it's available.
I would think they would if
Yeah. It's a magazine that people wait for. It's a good magazine.
Well, I think that type of magazine, I know it from other industries, they're full of tips all the time, so, you know. Quilts. Now, is that connected to Quilt Sampler, or are they connected to any other company that,
Well, it's Meredith Publishing.
Meredith Publishing?
Yes. I think they're out of Des Moines.
That's what they used to be out of Des Moines,
Yes.
I think they bought, yeah, which is neat. That makes it easier for them to visit, pay you guys a visit too. Well, Jimmy, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I had one question, which is, quilting, whether it's your grandma taking the shirt you were wearing for high school graduation, there is a bit of historic preservation in that.
Right.
I mean, what's that like where you're helping people preserve history at the same time, make a piece of art you can literally wrap around yourself?
Yeah.
Kind of tell me about what that is like being a part of an industry with so many different avenues for where you can take it. I mean, is it kind of when someone walks in, or you're just like, well, the sky's the limit. What do you want to do with it? I mean,
actually, yeah. Like you mentioned that with the somebody taking a piece of clothing. T-shirt quilts are super popular, especially like for graduates. A lot of people will take the quilts or the T-shirts, pardon me, that they have collected over the years from their child and turn it into a quilt that they can take to college with them. And some people do make memory quilts out of clothing and that they have worn, or somebody in the family has worn.
So a favorite shirt or whatever,
Yeah, more so what we see is people buying new fabric now, maybe to add to some of that, but the fabric now is a lot better quality and will last a lot longer, and if they're going to all that trouble to piece a quilt that's intricate or has a nice design to it, they want quality fabric, where some of the clothing fabric isn't quite as good as
thinner
quilt
usually.
quality fabric.
Well, of course, my grandmother, that back in the late 40s, early 50s, she was always cutting things, clothing that were left over or no longer used, and getting material from that.
Right, yeah, I think that was probably a certain age that was very conservative. People that, that era, I'd say, like my mom's era, did more so of that. And part of it, I think, was because they didn't have the availability to go to a quilt shop.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there was, fabric stores and quilt shops
Probably
readily available like there are now.
No, so if they had to use what they had.
Right.
Yeah, so that makes sense. I will check out, it sounds to me, and just from what I can see online, this is a huge industry. And Hamilton, I guess, has sort of built a whole community around quilting. So, and I imagine those people stop at your shop quite often.
Sure, yeah,
too.
we definitely share customers.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Oh, well, this is about all that I have. I sort of feel a little, lax in my ability to talk quilting with
Oh,
somebody,
well,
but,
we'll draw you right in.
yeah, well, I think that, I think during COVID, it's an ideal thing, or anybody who's shut in now, who normally just doesn't get out much.
And we do have, lots of gentlemen that quilt with us as well.
Really?
So, yeah, so it's not just a lady thing, it's and they really have a good eye for patterns, good eye for color, design.
That's interesting, yeah.
There's lots of gentlemen quilt designers out there in the industry, right?
Well, now, what exactly does a quilt designer do? I mean, they basically artwork that they.
Right, and design quilt patterns, right? Quilt patterns,
Oh, okay,
or lots of them.
Okay, and then
lots of them design their own fabric lines.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, I think that if I were to get interested, it would be the colors and the patterns. That would be, I would have trouble. I'm not good at detail work. That would, I know that I found out from this young girl that there was a lot of work involved. I mean, this was a long process for, I mean, from, I think we started in September roughly and went all the way about April or May before she had a finished product. So, and of course, she had less time, you know, probably with school.
So she deserved to be very proud.
Well, she definitely was. I mean, she would come in every week, oh, I got this done, you know, and I thought, wow, good for you. And even though I didn't quite know what she had finished, obviously she completed some stage and the whole thing. Well, I wish you a lot of success. We'll get out and we'll take some photographs and work this up into a show to put on the web. And we'll work up a story as well, which will be in the paper. Would you, obviously, did you want your picture in the, or we've got you captured here, or do you want to say?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I can